On the night my husband was supposed to celebrate the grand opening of the new office I had built from nothing for him, he forbade me to come. "You'll just embarrass me," he said. My mother-in-law laughed and added, "Your place is at home, washing dishes. You were born to be a maid." They were both wrong. That night my husband called me dozens of times in a panic as his party fell apart. That was the moment my revenge truly began. Before I tell you how everything collapsed, do me a favor. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any future stories. Now, back to that night. Steam hissed softly from the iron in the quiet room as I, Hannah, smoothed the last wrinkle from my husband's most expensive silk shirt. He was going to wear it tomorrow, at the grand opening of the new headquarters of Brightstone Developments, the company we had built together from absolutely nothing. The faint scent of luxury fabric softener filled the air, but in my mind, I smelled something different. The instant noodles we once split in our tiny rented room, the bitter black coffee I brewed at 3 a.m. while he worked on his first proposal. The new glass tower downtown had been our shared dream, funded partly by the only inheritance I ever received from my late father, a small piece of land I sold without hesitation. By day, I handled admin and accounting. By night, I stayed up with him planning marketing strategies. He was the face of the company. I was the machine behind it that made sure nothing ever fell apart. "The shirt's ready," I said softly as I hung it up. Ethan stepped out of his home office, tall and polished, a brand new watch on his wrist, a gift from me when the company turned 5. He glanced at the shirt, then at me. His eyes were cold, nothing like the man who used to cry on my shoulder when we lost our first tender. "What time are we leaving tomorrow?" I asked, still excited. "Should I lay out your navy tie?" He walked to the minibar, poured himself a glass of cold water, and only after he drained it did he finally answer. "You're not coming," he said flatly. The iron suddenly felt ice cold in my hand. "What do you mean I'm not coming?" "It's our grand opening. I already prepared the dress we bought in Paris." He eyed my long hijab, my simple house clothes, and a smirk tugged at his lips. "Listen, Hannah, everyone there will be from high society. Investors, politicians, socialites. You'll just embarrass me." My breath caught. "Embarrass you? I'm your wife." "Exactly," he snapped. "As my wife, you should know your place. With how you dress, how you talk. I'm not letting my reputation get ruined because you don't fit in." High-pitched laughter rang from the living room. Ethan's mother, Linda, walked in holding a cup of tea, as if she'd been waiting for her cue. She was always there, always ready to pour gasoline on any spark between us. "He's right," she chimed in, eye makeup sharp and mocking as she looked me up and down. "Those events aren't your place. You stay home, wash the dishes, clean the house. A girl like you should be grateful to be a maid, not standing beside a CEO." Her words hit like a slap. I turned to Ethan, searching for the man who once told me we were a team. He only looked away, silently agreeing with every insult. "Enough," he said at last. "This isn't up for discussion." He grabbed his phone, thumbs flying over the screen, a faint smile appearing. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to throw the hot iron straight at their smug faces to remind them that without my money and my work, Brightstone would never exist. But I stayed silent. My faith had taught me patience, yet that night my patience was pushed to its absolute limit. "Fine," I whispered. Linda smiled with satisfaction. Ethan sighed in relief, happy there would be no drama. They mistook my silence for surrender. They had no idea it was the beginning of a cold calculation. I went back to our bedroom, leaving them to laugh and talk about how spectacular tomorrow's party would be. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I finally let the tears fall. Not tears of sadness, but of anger freezing into something sharper. The shower turned on in the ensuite. Ethan hummed happily as water pounded the tiles. His expensive phone, the one I'd bought, vibrated on the nightstand. I never touched his private things, but tonight something in me moved. I glanced at the screen. A contact name flashed with a little red heart. Sophie. The message made my blood turn to ice. "Baby, my dress is ready. I can't wait to be introduced as the partner of such an amazing CEO tomorrow. I'll be the happiest woman at that party." So that was the real reason he didn't want me there. He wasn't just excluding me from our celebration. He was replacing me in front of everyone with his mistress, on a night built with my money and my sweat. The pain stopped being pain. It hardened into a cold, focused clarity. Ethan and Linda had underestimated the wrong woman. They thought I was a quiet maid. They had no idea who they were really living with. The water still thundered behind the bathroom door when I slipped out of the bedroom and went downstairs to the one place in the house they never cared about. My little hobby room. They thought I used it for embroidery or religious reading. They never noticed what was behind the orderly bookshelves. My hands moved quickly, pushing a shelf aside to reveal my real command center. A wide desk, 3 monitors, and a powerful computer already humming. No recipes, no makeup tutorials on these screens, only financial dashboards, stock charts, and corporate structures. On one of those charts, Brightstone Developments was a tiny block in the corner of a much larger diagram. At the top of that diagram, one name sat alone: Hannah Hayden. I was the founder and sole owner of Hayden Group, the holding company that secretly controlled Brightstone and several other businesses. Ethan had always believed Hayden Group was a mysterious foreign investor who trusted him to run their subsidiary. He had no idea the investor slept next to him every night. He didn't know his CEO salary, his bonuses, the house, the cars, all came out of my pocket. I had hidden my wealth because I wanted a husband who loved me for myself, not for my money. Instead, I got a man who loved only himself. My patience was over. Tonight, I would start taking back everything that was mine. I opened a secure video line. Within seconds, the calm face of a middle-aged man appeared. Anthony, my right hand, and the real chief financial officer of Hayden Group. "Good evening, Ms. Hayden," he said, glancing at the clock behind him. "Is there an emergency?" My voice turned crisp and professional, no trace of the meek wife. "Good evening, Anthony. I have several instructions for tomorrow. At 6 a.m. sharp, freeze every asset in Ethan Carter's name, personal accounts, his salary account, corporate credit cards, any Brightstone operational funds tied to his authorization. Everything. Transfer full financial authority for Brightstone back to me, effective immediately." Anthony's eyebrow twitched, but he didn't ask why. "All assets and access, understood," he said. "Anything else?" "Yes," I replied. "There's the caterer, event planner, security firm, and AV company hired for tomorrow's grand opening. Reach them all tonight. Inform them there's a serious administrative issue from the parent company. All contracts are suspended. Cancel every service and stop every payment." He hesitated only a second. "Canceled, ma'am? That's a major event. The guests? Those guests are my colleagues," I cut in. "I invited them under Hayden Group's name, not Ethan's. Let them come. I want them to witness the chaos with their own eyes." Anthony nodded slowly, understanding. "Consider it done." When the first call ended, I made another. This time to the head of security for Hayden Tower, the new building Ethan believed he was inaugurating as his kingdom. "Good evening. This is Hannah Hayden," I said. "Preparations for tomorrow are almost complete, ma'am," he reported proudly. 90% ready. "Change of plans," I replied. "There will be no grand opening for Brightstone Developments tomorrow. Cancel their booking for the main ballroom. Disable executive elevator access to that floor. Cut the air conditioning and sound system in the ballroom entirely. However, keep the main lobby open and fully lit. Let the guests and reporters gather there." The security chief was confused but not foolish. "Understood, ma'am. Your instructions will be followed exactly." The wheels of revenge were turning smoothly. For the final step, I opened a travel app and booked a first-class ticket to Honolulu on the earliest flight, 5:30 a.m. I added a private oceanfront villa on the cliffs of Oahu, charged to my main Hayden account. No, I would not be at home scrubbing dishes. I packed a small carry-on, a few comfortable outfits, my slim laptop, and the documents that mattered. I left the bag by my office door and went back upstairs. Ethan was asleep, probably dreaming of Sophie and his triumphant night. I watched him for a long moment. Whatever love I had left had already turned to disgust. I set my alarm for 4 a.m., lay down beside him and closed my eyes. The alarm buzzed softly beneath my pillow before dawn. I silenced it before Ethan stirred. Moving like a shadow, I slipped out of bed and into fresh clothes in my hidden office. I wrapped a simple, easy hijab, grabbed my carry-on and paused at the bedroom door. Ethan's face looked strangely peaceful in sleep, but to me, it was the face of a stranger. Without a sound, I left. I didn't order a car to the house. That would leave a trace. Instead, I walked several blocks through the dark, empty streets of our gated neighborhood until I reached the main road, then flagged a regular cab and paid in cash. As the city lights faded behind me on the way to the airport, I felt no doubt, no fear, only a cold, clean relief. The first-class cabin was quiet. I slept better in that short flight than I had in the past year. When the plane landed in Hawaii, the morning air smelled of salt and plumeria blossoms. A private car arranged by my assistant was waiting. The drive along the coast to the villa felt like crossing into another world. While I breathed fresh ocean air, Ethan was just waking up in our mansion, patting the empty side of the bed and assuming his maid was already downstairs. He showered, put on the silk shirt I had ironed, doused himself in expensive cologne, and admired his reflection in the mirror, handsome, successful, at the top of his game. He went down to breakfast. Linda was already dressed in her finest clothes, ready for her son's big day. "Where's Hannah? Didn't even bother making breakfast?" she sneered. "She's sulking in our room, probably," Ethan said carelessly. "Good. Let her stay out of the way. The housekeeper can handle the food." They ate happily, gossiping about the important guests, how beautiful Sophie would look at Ethan's side, and how lucky they were that my backward hijab and simple style wouldn't be there to embarrass them. Ethan even joked that if I showed up, people might mistake me for the catering staff. They both laughed. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the terrace of my villa, a private pool in front of me merging into the blue Pacific. I wore soft loungewear, a light cotton hijab, and sunglasses. A glass of fresh mango juice sweated gently on the table beside a plate of tropical fruit. I'd silenced my notifications, but left the phone on. I wanted to feel the exact moment when panic began. True power, I thought, isn't about who can shout the loudest. It's about who can stay quiet, plan carefully, and strike so precisely that the other side never sees it coming. I had never wanted this war. I only wanted a faithful husband and a peaceful home. But Ethan and his mother had forced me to play my trump card. It was late afternoon. Ethan's party was supposed to start at 4. Around 3:30, I was stretched out on a lounge chair, listening to the waves. At 3:45, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Ethan." I smiled. He was probably just walking toward the lobby. I let it ring a few times before picking up, putting on a sleepy tone. "Hello?" I said. On the other end, he laughed. That arrogant, mocking laugh I knew too well. "Hey, babe, sorry to disturb your nap. Just calling to remind you to wash those dirty dishes at home, okay? Maid?" I heard Linda and Sophie laughing in the background. "Gotta go. My elite guests are waiting." He hung up. I set the phone down gently. That would be his last laugh as a CEO. Ethan stepped out of the car at Hayden Tower with Sophie on his arm and Linda trailing behind, chin high. Flashbulbs exploded as reporters crowded the red carpet. "Mr. Carter, congratulations on the new headquarters." "Mr. Carter, who is this beautiful woman beside you?" Ethan smiled broadly, pulling Sophie closer. "This is Sophie, a very special partner of mine," he said, leaving the statement deliciously vague. Sophie blushed and preened, while Linda basked in reflected glory. They strode toward the massive glass doors, ready to be adored. But the moment they entered the lobby, something felt wrong. The marble lobby shone, but it was jammed with guests clustered in irritated groups. No music floated through the air. The giant digital screen behind the reception desk, which should have displayed a welcome video for Brightstone's grand opening, was black. "What is this?" Linda snapped. "Why are they all stuck down here? So unprofessional." Ethan was starting to sweat. He spotted several key investors arguing with building staff. "Probably just a minor technical glitch," he muttered, trying to calm Sophie, who was pouting. "I'm thirsty," she whined. "Where are the drinks?" "We'll go straight up to the ballroom," he decided, heading for the executive elevators reserved for top management and VIPs. He swiped his golden CEO access card. The reader flashed red. Access denied. Ethan frowned and tried again. Red. He moved to the next elevator. Same result. A bead of sweat slid down his temple. "What's going on?" Linda demanded loudly, drawing more attention. "You're the CEO, aren't you? Open the lift." Ethan spun around, yelling for the building manager. A man in a spotless suit hurried over, pale and sweating. "Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry. There's been a situation." "A situation?" Ethan barked. The elevators aren't working. My guests are stuck. The caterers are nowhere. This is my grand opening. The manager swallowed. That's the problem, sir. We received an urgent order about an hour ago from the parent company. All facilities for Brightstone's event have been canceled. For a second, Ethan thought he'd misheard. Canceled? Who gave that order? I didn't. The instruction came directly from Hayden Group's top board, the manager said, voice low. They informed us that you no longer have any authority here, sir. His words fell into the lobby like a bomb. Guests and reporters within earshot fell silent. Then whispers exploded. Did he say no authority? Is he fired? Camera flashes flared again, now hungry for scandal. Reporters surged closer, microphones thrust toward Ethan's chalk-white face. His phone vibrated in his hand. It was his banker, informing him that all corporate cards and personal accounts linked to Hayden Holdings had been frozen pending an internal audit. Ethan's world narrowed to a tunnel. There was only one person missing from this disaster. Me. Instinctively, he called my number, needing someone to blame, someone to scream at. The phone rang, echoing through the marble lobby. While it rang, the building manager stepped closer again, tablet in hand. Mr. Carter, there's one more thing. We just got the official email attached to the cancellation. It's signed digitally by the owner of Hayden Group. What's the name? Ethan croaked. Ms. Hannah Hayden, the manager read. Ethan froze, the phone still ringing against his ear. Hayden, my family name, a name he'd never bothered to learn. Hannah, he whispered, just as I answered the call. Hello? My voice drifted over the line, calm and soft, with the faint sound of waves in the background. Hannah! Ethan shouted, hysteria cracking his tone. The lobby went quiet as everyone watched. Where are you? What did you do? Why is the event canceled? They're saying You're yelling. I interrupted mildly. Aren't you supposed to be at your big party? Hasn't it started yet? Don't play stupid, he roared. The manager says you canceled everything. He used your full name, Hannah Hayden. What is that? What game are you playing? Linda grabbed the phone from his hand. Hannah, you ungrateful witch. What kind of black magic is this? How dare you ruin my son's party? For a heartbeat, I said nothing. Then I laughed. Not the quiet, nervous laugh Ethan knew, but a clear, free laugh full of victory. When I spoke again, my voice had changed. The obedient tone was gone. What came out was cold, steady authority. What house are you talking about, Linda? I asked. The house I bought with my money? The one with the deed in my name? Don't worry, you'll never set foot in it again. Linda sputtered. What are you talking about? Ethan snatched the phone back. Hannah, what have you done? The manager isn't mistaken, I said. I canceled everything. I am Hannah Hayden, founder and sole owner of Hayden Group. The company you run, Brightstone, is just a small subsidiary funded by the sale of my father's land. You're nothing more than a paid puppet, Ethan. The phone nearly slipped from his fingers. Color drained from his face. You're lying, he stammered. Hayden Group is a Swiss investor. You're just my wife. I am your wife, I agreed calmly. The wife you said would embarrass you. The wife you said belonged at the sink. The wife you barred from her own party so you could show off your mistress. Did you think I wouldn't see Sophie's messages? Ethan's knees buckled. He leaned against the reception desk. His carefully built illusion crumbled under the eyes of the press and his elite friends. Hannah, please, he begged, suddenly small. This has to be a misunderstanding. People are watching. This is my reputation. Your reputation ended the moment you chose to humiliate me, I said. Oh, and in case you're wondering where I am, I'm in Hawaii, enjoying the view from my private villa. The dishes here are spotless. As of an hour ago, your cards are blocked, your account's frozen, and your termination letter is on its way. Don't worry about coming home either. I've already changed the locks. And with that, I hung up and blocked his number. He tried calling back again and again, but every attempt bounced away into nothing. In the lobby, the reporters pounced, shouting questions as Ethan staggered backward, shell-shocked. He bolted for his car with Linda clinging to his arm, shoving through the crowd, ignoring the investors shouting, "Fraud!" and the cameras catching every second. "We're going home," Linda gasped. "We'll force her to fix this. She can't kick us out. I'm his mother." Ethan drove like a madman back to our gated community, clinging to the desperate hope that I was still there, still crying in our bedroom, that all of this was some elaborate joke. But when the house came into view, something was wrong. The main gate was shut tight, guarded by 2 security officers he didn't recognize. Beside them stood Anthony in a dark suit, calm as ever, with a lawyer holding a leather folder. Ethan slammed on the brakes and jumped out. "Anthony, what is this? Why are you here instead of at the office? Why is my gate locked?" Anthony met his eyes, not as a subordinate, but as a superior. "Good afternoon, Mr. Carter," he said evenly. "I'm here under direct orders from Ms. Hayden. First, your employment with Brightstone and all Hayden affiliates has been terminated, effective 1 hour ago. This is your official letter." The lawyer stepped forward, offering an envelope to Ethan's trembling hand. "Second," Anthony continued, "this house and all its contents are assets of Hayden Group loaned to you as an executive benefit. Since your position no longer exists, so does the benefit. We're here to repossess the property." Linda's face went white. "Repossess? This is my son's house." "Actually, ma'am, it's Ms. Hayden's house," Anthony replied calmly. "She's given you both 1 hour to collect your personal clothing and sentimental items that have no resale value. After that, our team will secure the property." The lawyer added another envelope. "And this is a divorce filing from Ms. Hayden, along with a lawsuit for embezzlement. Every unauthorized transfer of company funds to your mistress, every gift you charge to corporate accounts, we have the records." Ethan stared at the papers, his hands shaking. In a single afternoon, he'd lost his job, his status, his home, his marriage. Inside, security escorted them to their rooms like criminals. 2 empty cardboard boxes waited by each door. In the master bedroom, the side of the closet where my clothes once hung was bare. I had taken everything important days earlier. Ethan yanked open his half, rows of tailored suits and silk shirts, drawers full of cufflinks and luxury watches. When he reached for his favorite watch, the guard stopped him. "Sorry, sir. That's listed as a company asset." He was allowed only jeans, old t-shirts, underwear, and worn sneakers. In Linda's room, her screams echoed through the house as guards gently took away designer bags and glittering jewelry purchased on corporate cards. Half an hour later, they were herded back to the front door, each clutching 2 sad boxes filled with cheap clothes and faded trinkets. Anthony and the lawyer waited in the foyer. "One more thing," the lawyer said. "Out of basic kindness, Miss Hayden has prepaid 6 months' rent on a small house at the edge of the city for Mrs. Carter, your mother. This is the address. After 6 months, she is expected to manage on her own." Linda snatched the paper, outraged. "A rented shack? After all these years? This is an insult." "And me?" Ethan whispered. The lawyer looked at him without pity. "You're not on the lease, Mr. Carter. Ms. Hayden believes a grown man can take care of himself." The front door opened. "Please step outside," Anthony said. They walked out, hugging their boxes as the gate closed and a new lock clicked into place. The sound was final, like a judge's gavel. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. Sophie's name flashed across the screen. He answered, desperate, but she only screamed in all caps through a text moments later, calling him a fraud and blaming him for losing her apartment and credit cards, all of which had also been seized by Hayden Group. She blocked him immediately afterward. The woman he had betrayed me for didn't even spare him a second thought. They managed to hail a taxi with the last bit of dignity they had, boxes stacked on their laps. As the car drove farther from the glittering skyscrapers toward crowded, crumbling neighborhoods, Linda complained nonstop about the heat, the smell, the noise. Ethan stared out the window, too numb to answer. When the taxi finally stopped at the entrance to a narrow, muddy alley, the driver pointed. "That's the address. House 27 is inside." Ethan paid with the last of his cash. The small rented house was damp and peeling, with rickety chairs and thin, lumpy mattresses on the floor. No air conditioning, just a dusty ceiling fan that wheezed when it turned. That first night was hell. The air was thick and hot. Mosquitoes feasted on their soft, uncalloused skin. Linda refused to touch anything, sobbing that she would rather die than live in such filth. Ethan tried calling me, then Anthony, then the office. Every number either went to voicemail or had blocked him entirely. Reality finally sank in. This was their life now. Over the next days, their situation only worsened. Linda's rich friends flooded her phone with gossip and videos of Ethan's public humiliation, then slowly removed her from their group chats one by one. Her entire social world vanished, leaving only silence and shame. With his accounts frozen, Ethan had no money and no credit. He tried applying for office jobs, but every employer recognized his face from the scandal and politely, or not so politely, refused. Eventually, the only work he could get was at the place that had once symbolized his fall, the street market. A local boss offered him work hauling sacks of rice, pushing carts of vegetables, cleaning fish guts at dawn. Ethan accepted. His soft hands blistered and cracked. His back ached constantly. Each day's wages barely stretched to cheap rice and instant noodles and generic pills for his mother. The former CEO became just another tired laborer that no one noticed. Linda, desperate, remembered the jewelry and handbags she still had in her purse the day they were evicted, pieces the guards hadn't cataloged. She dragged Ethan to a small gold shop in the market. "These are real diamonds," she boasted, slamming a necklace on the counter. "My son spent a fortune." The jeweler studied it with a loupe, scratched it against a stone, then shook his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This is cubic zirconia, fake." One by one, he tested the rest. All fakes. All cheap imitations Ethan had bought while spending real money on Sophie's luxuries. The realization shattered Linda. The status she'd flaunted for years had been as counterfeit as her gems. Her vision blurred. She collapsed onto the dirty floor. At a cramped clinic nearby, the overworked doctor checked her blood pressure and reflexes, then looked grim. "This isn't just fainting," he told Ethan. "She's had a stroke, probably from extreme stress. She needs proper scans and hospital care, but that costs money. All I can do here is lower her blood pressure and give basic meds." Ethan stared at the peeling wall, holding the last remnant of his former life. A luxury watch he had managed to hide during the eviction. He sold it that afternoon for a fraction of its value, just enough to cover clinic fees, a few months of cheap medicine, and a little extra to keep them fed. Within weeks, that money also disappeared. Linda survived, but the stroke left half her body weak and her speech slurred. The woman who once strutted around salons and charity galas now lay on a stained mattress in a sweltering room, calling for help like a child. Ethan became her full-time caregiver as well as a market porter. He cleaned her, fed her, changed her, then dragged his aching body to the market at 3 a.m. He hated everyone, me, his mother, himself, but there was no one left to blame. One afternoon, while resting on a crate after hauling sacks of potatoes, he spotted a crumpled newspaper on the ground. On the front page was my face, framed by a graceful cream hijab smiling confidently. The headline announced the launch of the Hannah Hayden Foundation for Women's Empowerment, with a gala event at a luxury downtown hotel 2 days later. Reading that, Ethan felt a spark of desperate hope. Not hope of love or forgiveness, he knew that was gone, but hope for money, for a way out of the misery. If he could just see me, beg in person, throw himself at my feet in front of everyone, maybe I would give him something. He didn't care about pride anymore. He cared about survival. He decided he would go to that gala, no matter what it took. The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and soft golden light on the night of the foundation's launch. Ministers, CEOs, celebrities, and activists filled the room. Cameras flashed as I took the stage in a simple, elegant gown and a silk hijab that framed my face. I felt no fear anymore, only peace and purpose. "So many women," I began, my voice clear through the microphone, "are made to feel small, told they belong only in the kitchen, only behind the sink, only serving everyone else's dreams. Tonight, I'm here to say that our voices matter, our dreams matter, and we are more than worthy of leading." Applause rolled through the room like warm thunder. "The Hannah Hayden Foundation," I continued, "will provide legal support for women facing abuse, training and seed capital for mothers who want to start their own businesses, and safe spaces for those whose voices were silenced. Because behind every woman who's been underestimated, there is a queen waiting to rise." The applause grew louder. As I stepped away from the podium to take questions from the press, a commotion erupted near the service entrance. Security guards struggled with someone trying to push past them. "Let me in! I have to talk to her! Hannah!" a hoarse voice screamed. The room fell silent as a filthy, gaunt man broke free and stumbled toward me. He collapsed at my feet, I recognized him instantly beneath the tangled hair, unshaven face, and reek of sweat and market rot. "Ethan," reporters gasped. Cameras flashed even more furiously, capturing the stark contrast between us, me in cream silk, him in torn, stained clothes. "Hannah," he sobbed, clutching the hem of my dress. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Mom had a stroke. She can't move. Our place is disgusting. I work in the market. I can't do it anymore. Please just help her. For your own mother's sake. Give me money, anything." Security moved to drag him away, but I raised my hand. "Wait." I knelt so we were eye to eye. His face was streaked with tears and snot, eyes wild with panic. My microphone picked up every word. "Your mother," I said quietly. "The one who laughed when you banned me from my own party. The one who said I belonged at the sink. The one who said I was born to be a maid." Ethan